So there's a video over on the Amazing Atheist channel called Idealists Hate Week Day 3. And it's had a bit of controversy because people have been saying that it's too cynical. How dare I say the things I said in that video? Some of the things I said were that petitions are useless, which they are, unless you're doing it for a political end that actually has some tangible reality to it. For instance, if there's something on the books that says that if 10,000 petitions are gathered for something, then X will happen, and that's a law that's on the books, then it's not invalid. But to just sign a petition to give to someone, as if to say, hey, Walmart, we don't want you in our community. We have 10,000 signatures for you. You know, you're basically handing Walmart some toilet paper because it's going to wipe its ass with your petition. It knows that, 70,000 people don't want them there. Yeah, well, the other 300,000 people in the area do want them there. They want to shop at Walmart. And in fact, most of the people who signed that petition are probably going to go to the fucking Walmart. Because it's open 24 hours a day in most places, and it's fucking cheap as dirt. So you're probably going to go into Walmart, even if you do sign the petition. And they know that. They know your petition is fucking useless. And then this petition over in the white suburban American kids are circulating about the Uganda law. Oh, Uganda's not going to care. And that doesn't seem like a controversial thing for me to say. That seems like a very mild and obvious thing for me to say. I don't think it was all that shocking or controversial. And then the other thing I said, and the thing I think that really riled people, was when I told them, you have no power. Because people are raised with this idea that they can do anything, that they matter, that they're so important. And I think it's the biggest lie that we tell ourselves, is that we can make a difference. And people say, oh, look at all the people who have made a difference. Look at MLK and Gandhi and the Founding Fathers. Look at those people. Look at the political change that they enacted. Well, that's wonderful. But you're not Gandhi, and you're not MLK. These are two voices throughout history. And both of them were shot. Both of them were shot for what they did. And then the Founding Fathers, well, give me a break with that one. I mean, you think the Founding Fathers were like you? They were the rich men of their day. They were wealthy, landowning white males. They owned farms and plantations and slaves. They were the Koch brothers and the Donald Trumps of their day. And they didn't gain their power or make their social change by getting a petition circulated or forming some picket signs. They used their power and influence to form armies to fight the British and kill them and make the streets run red with blood. That's what they did. They used their political power to get more political power. So I'm not impressed with them. You want to talk about MLK? Martin Luther King, he was a man and he became a symbol for a movement. But he did not create the movement. He did not say, let there be a movement, and thus it appeared. He was following the Sun Tzu quote, if you want to lead the people, walk behind them. That's what he was doing, and that's what Gandhi was doing. He was part of a movement. And if there is a movement can create social change. And I never said that change was impossible. I just said that change isn't always desirable. Remember, the Maoist, Cultural Revolution was a great social change. It was a sweeping reform of Chinese society, but it was also terrible. China started murdering its intellectuals. It started... It plunged the country into new depths of starvation. The Soviets revolution, where, the People's Revolution over there in the Soviet Union, that was not a positive social change. That was a terrible social change. The Tea Party movement, I think most of us can agree, is not a force for positive change in America, but it is a force for change. It is a movement trying to affect change. And I'd like to point out that most of these movements do not go anywhere. The peace movement, it was strong in the 60s, and it was strong again in the early 21st century. And yet, the peace movement did not stop Vietnam. Vietnam did stop, but it wasn't due to them. And the peace movement that we've had here in this country for the last decade has not gotten us out of Iraq. Obama has said we're out of Iraq, but we're not really. It's not gotten us out of Afghanistan. And this is something that most Americans agree with. Most Americans, poll after poll after poll, say they don't want to be in Iraq, they don't want to be in Afghanistan, yet we're still there. Why? Because you are powerless. And I don't see why telling you that is something that makes me a bad guy. The thing about my video that no one seems to want to acknowledge is that I don't say, give up. I don't say, don't try to affect social change. What I do say is to accept your limitations, to accept the fact that, your belief and your being right and your fighting for what you believe in does not guarantee you anything. Because you are relatively powerless. Unless you're Bill Gates out there, or you're someone who is the head of a giant conglomerate, you individually have virtually no power. You might have some measure of power as part of a larger movement, but even that, probably not. Because like I said, most movements fail. The Tea Party swept into power in the 2010 elections. They took the House of Representatives. They ousted tons of Democrats as well as establishment Republicans. And they've had this political power for nearly a year now, and their agenda hasn't been advanced even one iota. In fact, in their minds, the country's probably gotten worse because Obama is experiencing new highs in popularity. They haven't done anything about the budget that they said they wanted to do. So really, that's a movement that's completely failed, as well as the left wing's anti-war movement. That's failed too. The Ron Paul movement has failed to get mainstream Americans interested in Ron Paul, despite the fervor with which they try to foist him upon us. So, individuals have no power. Movements in America at this point in our history have very little power. Money has power. If you are a billionaire in America, you have some power. But that's about it. So, I don't see what about my video was so offensive. I don't see what about it made you think that I was too cynical. Maybe I was a little bit too accurate. Maybe I said some things that made you a little bit uncomfortable because you realize they're true, but you don't want them to be. I don't want them to be either. I'm not happy with the way things are, but they're still the way things are, whether I'm happy with them or not.